Remakes, remasters, reimaginings has always been an interesting idea and concept for media in general. Whether you're talking about anime, whether you're talking about gaming, whether you're talking about animation. Yeah, we're talking about animation. That's the one we're specifically talking about for this video. Anyways, animation. Those three keywords are so closely together. They feel like they can either make a medium or break a medium. With people accepting the idea of it being like, oh my god, this is so new, fresh, and actually cool with a different type of spin to this medium, or the other side of it, which is, oh my god, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Do not ever do this again. This is how you specifically don't do the show, the movie, or animation, etc. With this feeling like it leads you to two different separate directions. One, you could play it safe and just run it back to what we already did before, what we've seen in just an updated version. Or two, you can actually try to do something different or maybe original, but with the cost of it possibly failing and being fucking shat on for generations to come just because you try to do something different. But then again, that's also a little bit too positive of a spin when it comes to that. Maybe I should say that they literally don't give a fuck and they just wanted a quick buck, you know? But if you were to ask me specifically, I think there's a little bit of a middle area. I think it's a gray area in the subject. The idea of you can still have it be semi-similar in what it is, but have your own little different changes or fixes that you think might not work out for the story, or just how the media is crafted in general. But spoiler alert, I'm alluding to Yaiba Samurai Legend, with Yaiba Samurai Legend being a remake of an anime that was in 1989. I believe it was 1989. I think yeah, it was probably 1989.
It don't matter. None of this matters.
And wait, should I call it remaster? Because technically speaking, a remake would be something like, I guess, like completely borderline different with different elements and things, and it's really the same. Okay, I'm talking about video game logic. All right, just remake. We'll just stick with remake. The Yaiba Samurai Legend starring, oh, who you guessed it, Yaiba, in the forest with his dad training to become a samurai, or one of the best samurai in the world, where he accidentally gets captured with his father as well as his pets of the jungle to go to Tokyo on accident, and ends up meeting one of Yaiba's father's rivals, and he stays with him for a certain period of time. Since Yaiba is staying in his household, he actually joins in with the daughter of the rival to go to school together, which leads Yaiba to see his own rival at the school, one of the best people that are there when it comes to a wooden sword, and he actually wants to fight the man that is named Onimaru. But with the story out of the way, I feel like this is a show that has its ups and downs, and will determine you would like it depending on your values. This show gives me a big remembrance of Saturday morning cartoons, of me waking up on a Saturday and then seeing this on and tuning in to see what wacky adventure we can get into and waiting until next week till we see it again for another cool story. Now this show is two things. It is an action as well as a comedy show, but my issue is sometimes there are parts in the show where I feel like it struggles to go between the line of comedy as well as action, with it being two times where I felt this way when it comes to this show. The first time is where the stakes were really high and we had an enemy that was extremely dangerous and felt like holy shit, is actually giving the main character a hard time, as well as putting all the side characters in their place and putting them in a position where it's like do or die, like we have to actually do something. One of my favorite villains in the show so far, which is Mr. Bat, who's literally just a bat and a man, and he just speaks in English from time to time. Now he was a threat the whole way through, and he was pretty funny with great action, but it falls off by the end because in the beginning it's daylight and everything's okay and fine, but by the end of the fight, daylight is now his fucking weakness. Like why? Like why did you have to just say, you know what, fuck it, let's have a funny cop out? It wouldn't make sense if it was a build up to this joke at the end with him being like, oh my goodness, the sun is actually fucking with me now, or maybe I had sunscreen, or just any actual excuse. But nah, I'm just like, okay, nah, I just win. Like what? And right before I get into the second thing where I had a problem with this show is, I do want to say that the comedy in the show is actually pretty funny. It's pretty good. It's at points where I will chuckle and laugh here and there, which to be honest, sometimes I don't really do that much, but that's like a whole different subject. But the second problem I had in this show is something where you could have easily cut out, especially when you're remaking a show, but it's because Japan is weird at times that you would just like say, fuck it, let's just continue adding this. And my issue was they did like a joke of like them peeping on one of their friends that are with them on this journey. And now the issue becomes it's Yaiba as well as Yaiba's master. And there are two times in the show where they peep on one of their companions on this trip, which is a little fucking girl. Like why the fuck is that added? Like you literally could have just said, you know what, we can cut this out. We don't have to really put this in. But yeah, let's just have a joke for the sake of like just peeping on her for no fucking reason. Like, it's weird. Like, why the fuck would you add that? Sometimes not everything has to be added directly from what its original work was. You can just cut things out, or you can add different things in to have either a new meaning or a new interpretation, or even have something cool and fun. But it's all this just to say that pervy trope is weird and fucking completely even worse when that person's a fucking minor, and just left a bad taste in my mouth. But me talking about some of the characters, I should at least start off with the main character himself, Yaiba. Yaiba reminds me of two people. Very interesting. But Yaiba's a fucking asshole, specifically immediately in the beginning of the show, of him torturing Onimaru to fight him, even though he's like, I don't want to fight you, I really don't do this. He's kind of a peaceful guy, he's taking care of birds like Mike Tyson, and he's just doing his thing, living by himself in Tokyo like every other fucking person in Tokyo does, apparently. And it gets to the point where Onimaru wants to actually fight Yaiba, and he loses, but the thing is, he's like, you know what, let me go for more power. He finds a sword and becomes like a demon. That's not really Yaiba's fault, but he did push him down the pathward of being like, you know what, I had peace and now I have no peace. Fuck you, I'm going to try to kill you now. But besides that, Yaiba just reminds me of a lot of other MCs when it comes to just youthful ignorance. And that youthful ignorance comes in so many different shapes and sizes. Whether we're talking about the idea of you having perseverance, you going for your goals, you actually doing whatever you would like to do while you keep moving forward. There's always that stigma of you being in your youthful years and you having not that much responsibilities and you having just a chance of going for what you really wanted, with a happy-go-lucky attitude, which Yaiba completely embodies. Another character I want to talk about is Kojiro. I always found Kojiro really interesting in this series because seemingly Kojiro 400 years ago fought Yaiba's master, and he actually was like a well-respected samurai, but he then turns into Yaiba's master in the sense of him doing the lying, him doing whatever it takes to win, because that's how Yaiba's master won against him and killed him. Just a walking, talking definition: if you can't beat him, join him. With Kanjuro being extremely snaky, but it's extremely funny because they add comedy elements of him actually helping Yaiba, and then having it in the end where you don't really know where Kanjuro stands, if he's just a flip-floppy fish or he literally just wants to help him out. Then there's Yaiba's master, Musashi Miyamoto. Now, Musashi Miyamoto was way cooler when he was younger. I don't really like him as an older man, regardless of what I said earlier about him, as well as just the idea of he's just not the greatest. He's just okay. He reminds me kind of like any other master or master student kind of relationship and bond that you see in a few other shows. But him younger, man, he was fucking cool. At least had morals, at least decently morals here and there. But he just looked cool. That was really realistically it. And the rest of the side characters kind of reminded me of a Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic, where they're kind of just there, but at least they're not useless. They actually fight a little bit here and there, but most of the time they're kind of just there. They're not really gonna fight the main threat or the main villain, but they're there to just be there. The show feels like it's a walking example of, if you can make changes, do them. If it's a better option or a better idea, do it. Don't just stick with the same idea that we've already had, especially when it feels lukewarm or just a bad idea in general. But in the same breath, I think it does a really good job when it comes to comedy most of the time, and action obviously all of the time, because not only is the animation gorgeous and amazing like always, but I love some of these fight sequences we do have with some of these characters. Like, holy shit, does this actually look really fucking good, from this scene to that scene to this scene to that scene. But Yaiba was an interesting watch. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!